Good day. Today we will be talking about forecasting. This is vital for planning any future business activity. It reduces costs and minimizes risk. Forecasting is a statement about the future of any variable. An example of a variable can be demand or sales or number of customers. So these things are what you are trying to forecast. Forecasting in business relies heavily on past data or historic data. An important distinction in forecasting is that the future is completely unavailable and must only be estimated from what has already happened. There are two common approaches to forecasting. Judgmental forecast relies on analysis of subjective inputs obtained from various sources, like surveys, sales staffs, managers, and executives. Time series forecast attempts to project past experience with the future. So we use historical data with the assumption that the future will be like the past. Judgmental relies on information gathered from various sources. Sources can be the internet, news materials, surveys, opinions, and analysis from experts. It is like forecasting consumer behavior, which relies on the examples I have given. Now, time series relies on past data or historic data. So it is like if the weather yesterday and today is sunny, then tomorrow will also be sunny. We will be focusing on time series forecasting. The following are the steps in forecasting. Step 4 is important. Be sure that you have clear and concrete datasets. Avoid data that is contaminated or unsure. We also monitor the forecast to make sure it is accurate and relevant. If not, we should change the forecast method. What is time series forecasting? The data in a time series appears regularly at a point in time. So the data can be observed, for example, on an hour, daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. To forecast sales for tomorrow, you have to rely on sales figures from the past days. The following are forecast methods based on time series. The naive method, moving average, weighted moving average, and exponential method. There are also methods that include trend, which we will be discussing later. In naive method forecasting, the previous result or actual data is the forecast. This is an estimating technique in which the last period's actuals are used as the period's forecast. Here are some examples. Let us begin time series forecasting starting with moving average. Before we start, let me tell you the three elements required to forecast using moving average. One is the historic data. Second is the period to forecast. And third, the actual data. I'll put that on a table like this. So we have the time period column, the historic data. I call that the column actual because it is the actual past data. The F column is the forecast figures. So in order to forecast period F4 using a 3-period moving average, we average the three historic datas 42, 40, 43. Take note, 3-period moving average, so we use 3 past data. Our forecast is 41.67. Now let us forecast period 5 or F5. We need the actual data for period 4. Let us assume the actual data on period 4 is 40. We now average 40, 43, 40, which was the previous actual data. Notice that we moved our chosen data sets to be averaged from 40 to 40, 43. We now choose 40, 43, and 40, including the actual. The forecast for period F5 is 41. Now let us proceed to weighted moving average. The main difference here is the past data are multiplied to assigned weights. The weights are decimal numbers that should total 1. So see them as percentage totaling 100%. The most recent data is given the biggest weight. We are assuming the most recent data has the most influence on the forecast. The smallest weight is given to the oldest data. So to forecast period F6, just multiply the weights for actual data from periods 5, 4, 3, and 2. The answer forecast for period 6 is 41. Now to forecast period 7, we multiply the same weights to the actual data from period 6, 5, 4, and 3. So we moved our chosen data because this is weighted moving average. Now the problem lets us assume that the actual data for period 6 is 39. So the forecast for period 7 is 40.20. That ends our lesson for today. Kindly answer the related activity in our Google Classroom. If you have any questions, you may post them in the comment section.